This is the power of pro wrestling. A podcast by wrestling fans for wrestling fans. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Welcome to a very special Summerslam edition of the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast. This is your host, Robert Rad, and for this very special Summerslam edition of the podcast, I'm going to be joined by two guests, not one, so we'll start with...
This is the Godfather of the Four Horsemen Incorporated.
Awesome, Godfather. Glad to have you back on the podcast. How you been doing since last time?
Godfather's doing good as always, living legend in the flesh.
Awesome. And who do we got joining us tonight for the first time?
This is Jukester JT, baby, representing for the Four Horsemen Incorporated.
Okay. Awesome. So for this podcast, we got a lot of great stuff we're going to be talking about. We're going to start with, you guys are going to defend why MMA stars coming to wrestling is a good thing. I'm going to say why it's a bad thing. We're going to give our SummerSlam predictions after a break, and then we're going to end with who we think is going to be fired or let go from WWE in 2017. So let's get this kicked off with our discussion, or what I'm calling the Great Debate. The way the Great Debate works is you guys are going to be given a total of 2 minutes. You each can take a minute to defend something, and I will get the last 2 minutes, and I will do the opposite viewpoint. And our listeners at the end of the show can tweet or leave comments of who won the debate. So I'm going to let my guests started. Godfather, you can go first. So what you're defending... Tonight's topic for this episode is why MMA stars coming to wrestling is a good thing. So go ahead and get us started.
I'm going to say the first point. The first point is it's because it gives the product more exposure. If you look at the biggest example I'm going to tell you is Brock Lesnar. He went to the MMA. He dominated the MMA. When he came back, he already had this legitimate mystique about him, and it just automatically made him look like a bigger monster than what he already was. I think these guys coming in, they're athletes, they're already pure talented, and it's just a whole new fresh spin on the business. I like it.
Okay. You want to add any points to that, JT? You only got about a minute left, so why?
I believe he's right. I mean, people like Brock Lesnar and all these guys, they're big guys, you know, and when I think of wrestlers, I like larger-than-life athletes, and these big fighting guys, you know, they're big and strong, and I think they can do good in the ring. It's good for both WWE's viewership, and I think it helps out UFC's viewership as well.
Okay, that's some very valid points. So the way this works now is I'm going to say why it's a bad thing for MMA guys coming to wrestling. Now, you had some valid points with it gives the product more exposure and stuff, but it does hurt the product as well, because if you bring in the MMA guys and you treat them as they're legitimate athletes, it hurts the wrestlers that you already have, and it gives a negative on the business. It makes your wrestlers look like sissies if you bring these guys in and build them up like you do. For the example you mentioned, Brock Lesnar. Yeah, he is a legitimate athlete and stuff like that, but if you and he has the wrestling background, so he is more the exception to the rule. But if you have guys like the Conor McGregors and stuff like that who are in MMA, and then you come in and they come into wrestling and you treat them as legitimate threats and you have them beat all your guys, you're only doing damage to your wrestling guys. You're basically saying MMA is better than wrestling, so you're telling your audience that why should you watch the product of...
Maybe it's just the WWE guys need to step up then. Maybe they need to rise up like the guys did in the Attitude Era. They took the ball and they ran with it.
Okay. So that's some good points. But, I mean, that's really what I was saying. And it's not necessarily them stepping up, but it's just in the presentation. Brock Lesnar, yeah, he's a legitimate threat here because he does have the amateur background. I don't necessarily have a problem with him being built the way he is, because he does have the background of being an NCAA champion, a UFC heavyweight champion, the WWE champion, stuff like that, and being a great athlete. But he is one of the kind. He's more the exception to the rule than he is the rule itself. So that's really my problem, and why I say MMA stars coming to wrestling is a bad thing, is because it does damage to the sport of wrestling. And, I mean, there are some good guys that have come over and do respect wrestling, but I just think it's a bad thing for them coming to wrestling. So, with that, we're going to take a break. But before we go to the break, let us know, guys, who won the debate. Do you agree with the Godfather and JT? Are MMA stars coming? Yeah, the Four Horsemen Incorporated. Are they right? Or is my point right to where it's damaging to pro wrestling? Leave it in the comments below, or feel free to tweet me when you're listening to this. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Our SummerSlam predictions are coming up next.
This is Amber.
And this is Amanda. And you're listening to the Power of Pro Wrestling Podcast.
And welcome back to our very special SummerSlam edition of the Power of Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is Robert Rad. And for our second segment of the show, we're getting into our SummerSlam predictions. I'm still here with the Godfather and JT Money of Four Horsemen Incorporated. And we're going to start with Big Cass versus Big Show with Enzo in the Shark Cage. So, first of all, what are your thoughts on this match before we get into our predictions?
Okay, this match sounds like a snooze fest to me. Starting out the Shark Cage thing, I think is unnecessary. But I believe there's no way that this match does not go to Big Cass to give him a strong showing as a singles guy.
Okay.
Big
What's your
Cass
thoughts?
has been pulling it off as a good bad guy. And I'm kind of jumping on board with it. I always be a Big Show fan, but I don't think Big Show wins. And I just think Big Cass is going to get the momentum right now, and he's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to establish a new monster heel. He's a big 7-foot guy. He's standing kind of toe-to-toe with the Big Show. So you really need to establish Big Cass. He's the future.
His only problem, though, he can't talk.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a great talker.
He's not very good on the mic.
He has delivered some good promos, something very passionate. So, I mean, you do need to push for Big Cass getting the win. Now, back to you, JT Money. What are your thoughts of them having Enzo in a shark cage? Do you feel this is a little strange that they're putting Enzo in a shark cage? Or
I feel like it's just what it always is with Enzo. He's just out there to talk. He's a distraction. The match is really between these two big guys. You know, I think
the best move is for Enzo to stop wrestling and become Big Cass's manager.
Okay.
You know, Cass can't talk. Enzo can. He don't necessarily be his tag team partner. Maybe he can just be his mouthpiece, just his mic, and just be his manager.
Okay.
Start dressing like a manager.
Do you say maybe that him going heel and joining Big Cass in that role being his manager?
It wouldn't surprise me with the flip-flopness they have in WWE anymore, but if he does, it makes no sense, and it kills anything that they've created.
Okay. I'm going with Big Cass for you guys as well. Next match we're going to get to Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on this match?
This is a sleep break. To me, it's obvious. Everybody knows he's coming out in the Demon character and he's going to win the match. And the reason why is because Bray Wyatt won on Monday night. I mean, they made that obvious already what's going to happen. But another match that nobody really cares about.
Okay. Your thoughts? You're in agreement with Godfather?
I agree with him. I think they're going to let the Demon King win just because they're pushing that character for him to be really hard to be as the Demon King. But I've always been following the Buzzards. I'm a Bray Wyatt fan, and I hope he wins because they're trying to push him as this new, Fear of Darkness guy, but he's not winning much lately. And how can you be an eater of worlds when you're losing to people left and right on every pay-per-view? So, but I think they're going to let Finn Balor win and kind of push him up some. So,
okay, yeah.
But I still hope Bray Wyatt wins.
Yeah, it would be nice for Bray Wyatt to win because, I mean, your point is valid, and a lot of people have made your point of how can Bray Wyatt be this new face of fear or be the eater of worlds when he's constantly loss after loss after loss after loss. You're not taking him as a credible threat to anybody, so it would be kind of hard to see him. And if you're bringing in Finn Balor as the demon gimmick, which they pretty well have, if we didn't get it Monday night, they basically, WWE said on the website, yeah, he's going to be the demon. The graphics of the demon. You don't bring out the demon character if you're not going to have him win. That would be kind of pointless. You would kind of kill that gimmick or character, and I would say that for anybody. So I'm saying that Balor is taking this one. Let's move on to our next match. It's Randy Orton, Rusev. So
I'm going to go out on a limb. I know what the odds say, but I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to tell you that Rusev wins this match. I feel like at this point they're using Randy Orton just like they did with Mahal to help put some of these new guys over. They realize they've got a chance here. I'm going for Rusev, and Rusev really needs this win if he's going to stay any kind of threat, legitimacy, anything on SmackDown Live. So I'm picking Rusev this.
Okay. JT Money, you in agreement with that? I mean, what's your assessment?
I feel like he's right. I feel like Rusev needs this win more than Randy Orton. Rusev gains more by beating Randy Orton. And I think right now just kind of using Randy Orton right now as somebody to put people over and make them look better. Like, they beat Randy Orton, then they're credible. And So Rusev needs to win.
Yeah. Rusev does need to win, but my fear here is since Randy Orton has put Jinder Mahal over the last 3 pay-per-views and what Orton has done the past year for WWE, I'm really scared they're going to go Randy Orton in this match. That's kind of my fears. Hopefully my fears will be assuaged, and they'll go maybe with Rusev, because I'd like to see Rusev get built back up, because he was on such a hot streak going into WrestleMania 31, lost to John Cena, and then he's fallen off the map. He's not been kind of in the same position that he was.
And he's been hurt.
So, I mean, he really does need to win, but my fear is Randy Orton is going to take this one. So I'm going to pick against you guys and go Randy Orton. I may regret it. I may regret it come Sunday, but both predictions is what wins you in this game. So
you know Randy Orton me.
Okay, well, let's go to another established guy, Mr. John Cena versus Baron Corbin. So what's your thoughts going into this match? Let's backtrack and let's talk about the cash-in.
Okay, I think the cash-in was horrible. Okay, I don't think it should happen. It killed a lot of Baron Corbin's momentum. There's obviously a reason for it. Not really sure what it was yet, but here's what I feel is going to happen. John Cena's already advertised for No Mercy for Raw, so he's more likely leaving SmackDown Live after this. I think John Cena picks up the victory, but I'm not giving him a pinfall submission victory. I feel like he's going to get a disqualification victory. I feel like Corbin comes out, he loses it, the match goes sideways, he might put Cena through a table, or he might hit him with a chair. I feel like Cena only gets this win Sunday as a DQ win, and Baron Corbin kind of goes over the top, and they kind of reestablish him a little bit as like a monster.
Okay, good assessment. So not a clean win with you. What's your thoughts on the cash-in from SmackDown, JT Money?
I thought it was ridiculous, man. I mean, you've been pushing this guy. I'm on board with him. He's a good wrestler. He can talk some. He's got a good gimmick. I think they should have. I don't understand why they did it, really. Like, what is he now, only the second guy who's cashing in that one?
Well, it's technically third because Cena was unsuccessful with Punk, and then you had Damian Sandow. Now you've got Baron Corbin.
They're not even talking about Cena on that one, though. I noticed that. They're leaving him completely out of it.
You just make the Money in the Bank kind of just look
pointless.
Pointless. Like, why give him go through all that and let him win and not even do nothing with it? So.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem deflating when you have someone cash in and not win the title. And, I mean, it would have been interesting to see Baron Corbin win the title, because that would have shook SummerSlam up, and I think that would have added more excitement, maybe, and more intrigue to, like, what's going to happen. Is John Cena going to get a title match? Is it going to be a triple threat now between Shinsuke and Jinder Mahal, which we're going to get to later? So, I mean, it had the potential to do something exciting going into a big show of the SummerSlam, and you
they
blew
use
it.
a cheap pop for ratings to try to catch better ratings at the main event.
My thing with it, man, is, I've been a wrestling fan since I've been a kid. And, wrestling, sometimes it's hit and miss, and it takes a lot to pump me up. And when he cashed in that Money in the Bank, it was, like, really crunk. And then how they ended it, was like I felt let down again. And, like, wrestling lately has been letting me down, and kind of just, I don't know, just another...
So who you got? Who do you got? Baron Corbin or John Cena?
So is it Corbin or Cena? Who's taking this? He says that Cena's winning, but it's not going to be a clean win.
If I was betting money on it, I would say John Cena, but I'm going for Baron Corbin. So
okay.
I'm on...
Okay, I'm going to go Baron Corbin as well, just for the simple fact you had an unsuccessful cash-in. You really need to get Baron Corbin's heat back, so he needs to win John Cena. He needs to beat John Cena on Sunday. It needs to really reestablish him as the monster and really pump it up a level and maybe push him further into the main event scene, and then maybe later on in the year win the WWE title. Now, a lot of people...
The thing is, Cena's lost the last 6 SummerSlam single matches he's had. I can't see him taking another loss at SummerSlam. I mean, that's why I picked the DQ win, because then it still makes Corbin look really good, and John Cena still gets a victory.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a way to protect both guys. And that's a way to protect John Cena, but I mean, he's John Cena, so a loss isn't really going to do damage in the long run to him. So that's why I said, and you really need to reestablish Corbin, so you need to have Cena put over him clean. So let's move on to our next match, and this is probably one you guys are excited about. We're seeing a reunited Shield, sort of, with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, and they're taking on Sheamus and Cesaro for the Raw Tag Team titles. So
Shield wins the belts.
Okay.
Hands down.
Yeah. Shield.
Okay, so we're in agreement that it's Rollins and Ambrose.
Shield wins the belt.
Okay, well, let's kind of backtrack a little bit. What do you think about the reunion? Are you excited for it?
I'm excited about it. I'm glad they waited at least 3 or 4 years before they did it, not immediately. I think it's going to build up to a total unitement of the Shield down the road where all 3 members have red belts.
Okay. Do you think that's going to happen as well? I mean, are you excited to see the reunited Shield, sort of?
Oh, yeah. I love the Shield. I've always loved Seth Rollins. I love Dean and Ambrose. And I agree with Godfather that they reunite the Shield, and they probably help Roman Reigns win the belt.
Okay. How soon do you see this happening? Do you see maybe a WrestleMania thing? Or
Survivor Series?
I feel like, it could happen sooner than,
later?
With the WWE, they'll probably put it off, build it up, get as much as they can out of it before they bring in Roman Reigns back with it. But the Shield's going to reunite.
Yeah, I mean, you put Ambrose and Rollins back together for a reason. They got the Raw Tag Team titles on the line. Mm-hmm. You've got to give them the belt, or what was the point of...
And Sheamus and Cesaro are good competitors.
Yeah, and I mean, they've been tag champions before, and they've had a little bit of a decent
These 2 guys
run.
have never held the belts together before. These 2 guys have never been tag champs before.
Because you made a good point. This combination has never been champions.
And so I think they're going with a new form of the Shield where Roman Reigns is obviously the leader, but I believe by Survivor Series, it may happen at Survivor Series because it's going to happen at a Big 4. I just don't see it being right now, and I'll get into that with my other prediction for the title match.
Okay, well, let's move on. We won't discuss the pre-show matches, so Usos and New Day and Akira Tozawa and
Usos win the belts.
So we'll move on to that. Let's go to the women's title match, Natalya versus Naomi for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship.
Natalya.
Oh, Natalya. Why Natalya?
I think Naomi's run has been boring and lackluster at best. I feel like this is a Big 4 pay-per-view. I feel like this is the best chance to put the belt on a heel. I don't see a cash-in happening, but I feel like they've got to get a heel champion on SmackDown, and this way you can kind of reestablish Charlotte Flair as the top face, and now she can start chasing Natalie to try to win the belt from her.
Okay. What's your thoughts? I mean, do you see Natalya winning the title, or do you see Naomi retaining, cash-in? What's your thoughts?
I believe Miss Money in the Bank wins.
So you think Carmella? Okay, so Carmella ultimately
I think
wins.
They're in the middle of the match. They're both hurt, beating each other up, and then she comes out and cashes in on them.
Okay.
James Ellsworth screws them over, and that helps her win.
Okay.
Mr. No Chin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I love that scenario. So, I mean, I think ultimately...
So it really makes Natalie look bad either.
Yeah, because, I mean, having a cash-in, you never look bad because you can always take advantage of an inopportune moment for one of the challengers. So, I mean, and it doesn't hurt anybody. I think ultimately Carmella's winning. Now, whether Natty or Naomi win, I'm not sure. I think if they do have a cash-in, it's going to Naomi. If they don't have a cash-in, I don't know if they're going to flip it to Natty or not. Because with Naomi, you still could do a Charlotte Flair. That wouldn't be out of the picture. You could still do a face versus face if Naomi keeps the belt. I mean, I'm probably like you, where I prefer the dynamic good guy, bad guy, but you can always have a match of respect to where it's Naomi and Charlotte, they have unfinished business. So, I mean, that can work as well. I'm not against that necessarily. And like you said, you can reestablish Charlotte in that role of the top face or maybe top heel, whatever you want to put her at.
Always on board with the queen.
Yeah. So, let's move on to the flip side. Let's go to the Raw Women's title. It's Sasha Banks just won this past Monday night on Raw to gain the opportunity to face Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's title. Are you happy that Bayley was out of this match and it's now Sasha? Or what's your thoughts on that? And then what's your prediction?
I'm not a Bayley fan, so I don't really care the way. But if you want me to be honest with you, the match I really want to see is I want to see Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax.
Okay, so you want the battle of friendship.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not a fan of the Boss. I don't think that she's a top contender in my opinion. I don't think she's done anything. Do not see her winning the belt this Sunday. Alexa Bliss is on a roll right now. They know they got something good on their hands. She's a hot heel. She's a hot good women's champion, and I don't mean hot in the sense of looks. I mean like the momentum and steam she's got behind her right now. I feel like she comes out ahead in this pay-per-view with the belt.
Okay. What's your thoughts? Does Bliss retain Sasha Banks? What's your thoughts, JT Money?
Excuse me. I'm an Alexa Bliss fan. You know, she's got me. She's got something different. I've liked her since I've seen her. You know, she's really
fan since day one.
Really good right now. And I'm not a fan of Sasha Banks either. I just feel like Sasha Banks is overhyped, overrated, and her wrestling moves are sloppy.
Weak at best.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me present this scenario to you then. Sasha Banks wins. Do we see a heel turn for her to do the big match with Bayley? I mean, where do you think we go from here if Sasha does win the title? Or does Bayley turn heel on Sasha, or does Sasha turn heel on Bayley if Sasha wins the title?
Well, Sasha's been bad before.
Yeah, it just right now the best heel they got going is Alexa Bliss, and the next best to me is Nia Jax. And Bayley's going to have to be healthy, and I think the only way that heel turn comes between them two is Bayley has the belt and they fight each other for the belt, and then maybe she turns heel, but I don't see her winning it and then turning heel directly after that right now. No.
Okay. So do you agree with that assessment that if Sasha does win the title, it's not going to be a direct heel turn?
No.
Okay.
I mean, they cheer right now. She's kind of like the good guy. And
they don't need her to be bad. They got Alexa Bliss for that right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you did the Superstar shakeup, having Alexa come over and then having Nia Jax, yeah, you do have your top heels. You don't really need, like you said, a third heel unless you're going to flip Alexa Bliss back face, which I don't really see that happening. And in Nia Jax, I think it would be really hard to get her over as face since she's so big. Now, Braun Strowman, he's been getting over as a face, but I think that's because of who he's been facing. So, I mean, you've got your two heels.
That's just
there.
how the fans are. He is a direct monster heel, and everybody knows it. They just like the momentum that he's carrying right now with his feud with Roman Reigns, and so they're cheering anything those two guys are doing right now. Their interaction, the fans are cheering for.
Yeah.
They're going crazy.
Yeah. So we'll get to that match here in a second, but let's move to the U.S. title. Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, Shane McMahon's the guest ref. Do you think Shane's going to play any part in the finish of this match?
I do. I think Shane is going to play a part in costing Kevin Owens the match. I'm looking at AJ Styles to retain here. I feel like this is possibly going to set up a Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens feud or match down the road, which I really don't want to see because at this point I think Shane needs to stop fighting in matches. But I see AJ retaining the belt here because he is one of the top guys they have on SmackDown Live. He's an established face guy now. He is the face of SmackDown Live, and if they're not going to keep the big belt on him, they're at least going to keep a championship on him, I think, for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, so you're saying AJ keeps the belt, JT Money?
Yeah, I think AJ Styles keeps the belt, and it's because of Shane O'Mac.
Okay, so Shane will play into the finish?
I feel like something's going to happen, and like they're going to get ready to, knock him down or something like they've been doing on SmackDown. And I feel like Shane's going to like do his little move to somebody and cost him the belt.
Yeah, I can see Kevin Owens hitting him and him doing his little money shuffle and knocking Kevin Owens out, and AJ Styles getting on top of him and him counting the 3 count.
But to be honest with you, though, I'd kind of like to see a Shane O'Mac and AJ Styles rivalry because that time he beat him up in the back room and
the WrestleMania match was that. I mean, it almost kind of stole the show to us. I mean, we thought it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, because I mean, going in, you were talking about you didn't want to see a Shane Kevin Owens feud. If you go back to WrestleMania, I mean, I've seen that about AJ Styles, Shane McMahon, but unfortunately, I think we were really proven wrong because that was a good match in my opinion.
It was. I just think they need to stop using Shane McMahon as a primary focus for performing and just let him do his role as commissioner or whatever it is, general, whatever.
Well, it is. He's the commissioner.
Yeah, they just need to stop using him primary as a performer, in my opinion, at this point, unless you're putting him against somebody that could equally match his enthusiasm.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, I'm in agreement. Styles keeps the belt, and I mean, I think we'll see a Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon, Hell in a Cell because Hell in a Cell this year is SmackDown Live.
Oh yeah!
And remember WrestleMania 32, we had Undertaker, Shane McMahon, so I think we could have that dynamic with Kevin Owens. So that's where I'll go with that. Let's go to the WWE title, and then we'll get into the match where you guys, I'm sure, are excited about. Nakamura and Jinder Mahal for the WWE title. We don't have the Money in the Bank briefcase to play in, so do we see Jinder retain, or is Nakamura taking the title off Jinder?
I'm going with Jinder Mahal winning this. I don't think that you put the belt on him. I don't think that you put him over Randy Orton like this just to drop it this quick. I don't see SummerSlam being that that restart point for the WWE Championship. I figure that Nakamura may win it at some point in this year, but I think it's going to be closer to maybe the end of the year. They're getting ready to move into the India market real heavy and start touring over there. So I see them running him out as their champ. And plus, to be honest with you, he's been doing a pretty good job, in my opinion, as a heel champion.
Okay, yeah. So you don't want to hinder Jinder at this moment.
I don't. I want to let him keep going. The modern day Maharaja.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
JT Money, you agree?
I agree. Jinder Mahal's came a long way, man, from 3-man band.
Yes, he
has. At first, I'll be honest with you, I kind of was, thought it was a little iffy, but he's been doing a good job being a really good bad guy, man. And, he's a big tall guy. You know, he's a big, strong, rash-looking guy, and they're pushing him over. Like you said, you know, you don't let him beat Randy Orton and all these good guys just to let him lose. I think he's going to win because he is the modern-day Maharaja.
Okay. It's kind of hard here without having the Money in the Bank briefcase for me to decide who I want to go with. I get your point with not changing the belt, and I mean, there's a lot of business reasons with the Indian market keeping Jinder on. You have Shinsuke's hot right now. I really could see them flipping the belt to Shinsuke. You had John Cena put him over clean in a match. So why do that if you're not going to let Shinsuke get the belt? I mean, I do agree it would make more sense to do a chase, but I really think Shinsuke might be walking out as WWE champion. And although I wouldn't be surprised if Jinder keeps the belt for the very reasons that you stated. So I can see both sides, but I think Shinsuke is taking the title come SummerSlam. And let's finish it off with the Fatal 4-Way match for the Universal title. Defending champion Brock Lesnar is taking on Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Braun Strowman. So where you at, Godfather?
This one's tough. I mean, it is. I'm listening to the odds. I'm listening to people's predictions. I'm reading the articles. I'm hearing everything. But I'm going to have to go here with my gut. And I'm going to tell you that my gut is telling me that Braun Strowman walks out with the red belt.
Who'd you say again?
Braun Strowman.
You got to say it right. That's why I had you repeat it. It's Braun
Strowman.
Okay.
I've got a feeling the Brock Lesnar thing leaving is a good way for them to slide him to SmackDown Live for a little while.
Ooh, so you think Brock Lesnar on SmackDown?
Think Brock Lesnar is going to slide to SmackDown Live. I think that SummerSlam traditionally has been the restart point for Monday Night Raw. If tradition history tells you anything, a champion gets crowned at WrestleMania. Generally, that champion drops the belt at SummerSlam to restart. The Raw ratings are starting to go up a little bit, but that's not really anything to do with Brock Lesnar. Mm-hmm. You know, his appearances always draw big numbers. We know this. But they're moving in the direction because of Braun Strowman's feud with Roman Reigns is why the Raw ratings are going up. This is the perfect time to strike on that. Give him the red belt, even if he doesn't keep it very long. But I got a feeling that John Cena coming to Monday Night Raw is to be Braun Strowman's first victim in his title defense.
That's an interesting theory. So, who's your pick here, JT Money? You've heard the Godfather. Are you a Braun fan, or do you think Brock Lesnar's keeping it, or does it go to someone else?
To beat a beast, a monster among men.
Okay.
Braun Strowman's going to win. He's got all the momentum right now. You know, he's a really big guy. He can talk. He's pretty well talking, really. His feud with Roman Reigns has been the highlight of Raw, really. I mean, it's been the only thing that's been keeping me watching.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that and the Shield, I think, is really here the last few weeks has been something to watch for Raw.
Well, yeah, the Shield, but that's now started doing that.
And Brock Lesnar don't have to take the pin here. He don't have to eat the pin.
Yeah.
You easily can. Samoa Joe can eat that pin. Easy and still look good.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that was like what I was going to say. You have a Fatal 4-Way match for a reason. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, you're doing that because you're either having Brock Lesnar drop the belt, or you're maybe trying to say Brock Lesnar can beat 3 guys at one time, and you really are trying to establish him more. I'm thinking this Fatal 4-Way, we're going to see Brock Lesnar retain the title. This is, I think, is just a work saying that, if he loses, he's gone and stuff like that. I don't think we're going to see him lose necessarily. I think he's going to keep the title, although I wouldn't be surprised if he does drop the title to, say, a Braun Strowman or something like that. Now, it's rumored that Paul Heyman's been pushing for Samoa Joe, and I mean, he had such a good feud with him this last time, so maybe Samoa Joe takes the Universal title.
Paul Heyman
it's possible.
On Brock Lesnar and joins with Braun Strowman.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah,
but I really feel like Lesnar's going to SmackDown Live.
I just want a champ that I see.
You're swapping. We all know Cena's a free agent. We all know he's coming to Raw.
Yeah.
You have to replace that star power somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I feel like the rationality's coming in. That his appearances are being sporadic. He's only got the rest of this year for his contract. I see them moving him to SmackDown Live. It's a fresh start for him, a fresh start for SmackDown Live, and then those appearances will start meaning a lot more and put SmackDown Live back up on the map.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have for our predictions, so don't go anywhere. We're going to finish our show off with a rapid fire returning, and we're going to tell who we think is going to be gone from WWE by the end of the year. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back right after this.
This is Brad Hargett, and you're listening to the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast.
And welcome back to the show. For this edition of Rapid Fire, we're going to be discussing which superstars will be released this year. So we're going to start with Mr. Dolph Ziggler, as Mr. JT Money likes to call him. So Dolph Ziggler, Godfather go. Is he fired, or is he going to stay with WWE throughout the rest of the year?
I think he gets repackaged.
Okay, so you see a repackage. He's not gone from WWE this year?
No.
No, they'll keep Dolph.
Okay, so we say Dolph stays. What about Luke Harper?
Fired.
So you're saying he's fired? Okay. Okay. I don't know if they keep Harper or not. I mean, I like Luke Harper. I'd like to stay around.
If you're going to keep him, put him back with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I agree. Bring him back over the Raw. You can do the Superstar Shakeup. He goes back with Bray Wyatt. And you have a reunited Wyatt family, and maybe Shield Wyatt family feud happens. So.
Yeah, and they get Braun Strowman back.
Yeah, so I mean, I could see that. Okay, how about his counterpart, Eric Rowan?
Fired.
Godfather saying fired. What do you say?
Either fired or brought back with Bray Wyatt.
Fired or Wyatt family.
Okay.
Either
fired or Wyatt family.
Okay, yeah. I say Wyatt family. They'll keep Rowan. Here's a controversial one. How about Paige?
Fired.
Oh, so we're saying Paige is gone. Why are you saying Paige is gone, Godfather?
Sex tape.
Sex tape. Ooh.
She's fired.
She's fired. Okay. I can agree with that. With all the trouble that Alberto Del Rio, which is her fiance husband, has been causing, and I don't think they really want to keep Paige around for all the drama, and especially what you mentioned with the sex tape. So I don't know if we're really going to keep Paige. The only saving grace I can see is that WWE is in collaboration with The Rock, and they're making a movie about her or a documentary. That could be the only thing that could save her.
You make the movie,
she's staying hurt,
and then she's fired.
I could see that. I could see them doing that. So I say she's probably gone by the end of the year or right after that. How about Sin Cara?
Fired.
Okay, so we're saying fired. Okay.
Yeah, he's fired.
I haven't seen much of him lately, so I don't know if we're really going to see him. Unless you're going to put him on 205 Live, and maybe he does something for 205 Live.
Speaking of 205 Live, if you're cruiserweight, you're supposed to do cruiserweight stuff.
So, I mean...
And they're not doing
So, let's go to Summer Rae.
Repackaged.
Okay, repackaged Summer Rae. She's staying.
She's fired, too.
You're firing her?
Yeah, she's a nobody.
Okay, I mean, repackaging is the only way we're going to save Summer Rae. I don't know if we're going to really keep her around, so I might
valet. She's going to be somebody's valet. She is.
If she doesn't come back as a valet, I say she's gone. So, how about Apollo Crews? Is he fired?
No.
He's in that Titus worldwide. They're going to start pushing him a little bit more.
Just for U.S. belt or
I can
something.
see them teaming them up as a tag team and start running him and Titus as a tag team.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
Tag team.
Okay. I could see him stay, too, for that very fact of the whole Titus worldwide. And let's finish up with Lucha.
Fired.
Okay, so we're saying Kalisto is fired?
So you fire all of them, do whatever you got to do to bring back CM Punk.
Okay, well...
he's my guy, man. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Well, that's all the time we have for this very special SummerSlam edition of the podcast. Godfather, thank you and JT Money for joining me. Do you have any social media you want to promote, like Facebook or anything?
Four Horsemen Incorporated.
No.
For life.
Okay. Well, you can check me out on social media. I'm on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Robert Lee Red Jr., I believe. Twitter, I'm at at Robert Red Jr. Instagram, Robert Lee Red Jr. You can check out the podcast, definitely, on iTunes or on your Android through Google Play. Just search the Power Pro Wrestling Podcast, subscribe, and it will download directly to your device every time we release a new episode. And if you are an iTunes user, please leave us a review. It will tell us what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. It will be greatly appreciated. We always love your guys' feedback.
Yes,
so definitely do that. Like I said, you can check me out on YouTube. It's youtube.com/user/you Robert Red. I've got great content I'm going to start putting out on there. And Shout Engine, you can check out the podcast at shoutengine.com/the Power of Pro Wrestling. and so you can listen to it on there as well. But
check out Orr Motors in Searcy, Arkansas for all your automobile needs. Ask for Jeff Toddy. Tell him the Godfather sent you.
Yeah, that's always good. We're giving a shout out to our old sponsor, Jeff. So definitely, if you're in the Searcy area, check them out. But thank you guys once again for joining me for the podcast. Hopefully, we're going to have you back maybe here in a few weeks for the next pay-per-view. We'll see how things work out. But for Robert Red, this has been the Power.
Oh, yeah!
Mac versus Triple H.
Okay, and for the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast, this has been Robert Red, and we'll see you next time. And the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast is brought to you by Dwayne Hadley Designs. From logos, flyers, and business cards, Dwayne Hadley Designs does it so you don't have to. For a free quote, visit DwayneHadleyDesigns.weebly.com.